What up, sports fans? Waxon Wednesday. Jake Waxman on top level let two guys talk sports. Excuse me there. Excuse me, I just bounced. Let's rock and roll. All right, starting with the Chicago Blackhawks. All right, fresh off the Olympic break, the Blackhawks have played 4 games following the Olympic break, and they have gone 1-2-1 in those games. First 2 were losses. Then they won a 4-0 shutout at Utah, and last night they fell short against the Winnipeg Jets 2-1 in over. Actually, 3-2 in overtime. So with that, I will say this: Connor Bedard, he definitely looks fresh following the Olympic break. I think having that time off really has helped him. I mean, 4 games so far, he's got 2 goals and an assist. Pretty good start following the Olympic break. So Connor Bedard looks fresh right now. He looks focused. He's definitely getting pressure and pucks on the net. That's for sure. He's playing hard. And this Blackhawks team, for the most part, they've been playing hard too, getting that well-deserved rest. So what I'm going to focus on right now is just last night. Okay, this Blackhawks team, I'm not expecting them to make the playoffs. This is another one of those learning years, building the chemistry and that stuff. But gotta learn how to close those close games on. Because the Blackhawks were up 2-1 against the Winnipeg Jets last night in the final minutes of the third period. And they looked well on their way to victory. Winnipeg had just pulled the goalie. Under a minute to go, Winnipeg ends up scoring to tie the game. And then overtime last night, Scheifele buries one past night. So, tough loss for the Blackhawks to take. I mean, played hard in that game and probably should have won, but, you got to finish them. Got to find a way to play tighter defense and finish off those games. Of course, the Blackhawks are also suffering in that game. They suffered the short-term consequences of trading Connor Murphy. That's right. For those of you who don't know, the Blackhawks, they traded Connor Murphy to the Edmonton Oilers for a few draft picks. This trade caught me completely by surprise. I kind of thought if the Blackhawks were going to make a trade, it was either be a forwards or someone on offense, but a defensive man? I can't say I saw that coming because the Blackhawks, they need a lot of help defensively, but this team will be relying on its young stars to play defense for the rest of the season. So we'll see how this goes. But this is a team that knows, okay, we're not going to make the playoffs. So, played hard. Just one of those lessons. So one of the lessons that the Blackhawks are going to learn is you're just going to have to gain experience, play together, and that's how you learn how to close out these close games. We've had so many of these this year where the Blackhawks were leading going into like the third period and even going in and they looked to be on their way to victory and just the game ends up getting tied up. And, just this team will get better. There's a lot to be excited about with this team. The young stars, I mean, you got Connor Bedard, Frank Nazar, Oliver Moore, I think is going to be a really good hockey player. Spencer Knight, of course. A lot of good pieces on this Blackhawks team. They're going to get better. They're going to continue building. There's no question about that. Just one of these short-term things that they're going to have to learn is how to finish off these close 2-1. When you're leading 2-1 in the third period, you're just going to have to learn how to finish these off. And that comes with playing experience and playing time together. And obviously they're going to need some help defensively in the offseason. And in the draft, I would get defensemen because our defense is looking a bit slim, to say the least, now that Connor Murphy is in Edmonton. I get it. Murphy was 32, and he's going on to 33. He's getting older. So, in part, it's a little understandable why the Blackhawks would want to trade him while his value's high, but it's still surprising to me that they traded him. And now the Blackhawks are going to have to finish with a defense that's definitely going to have its hands full the rest of the season. So, we'll see how it goes. Connor Bedard looking great off the Olympic break. And the Blackhawks, they had some good moments even in those losses. The rest of the way, you know what? Learning experience the rest of the way. Let's see if we can finish the season strong. And by the way, Bedard, with those 2 goals that Bedard has scored following the break, Bedard is now up to 25 goals on the season, which is a very high number for any skater. And I'm hoping that he can get at least 5 more. I want to see him be a 30-goal scorer. If he can be a 30 goal scorer on the season, that would be a huge accomplishment. He's already set a personal high for a number of goals in the season with 25. We'll see how the rest of things go for Connor Bedard and the Chicago Blackhawks. No, all right, the Blackhawks, they're not going to make the playoffs, okay? That's just the way it is. But as of right now, and what I'm about to say next, I don't mean this as too much of a slight against the next team I'm going to talk about, but the Blackhawks at least have been more fun to watch than the Purdue Boilermakers have been the last few games. Oh, gosh. So, obviously, shifting gears to the Purdue Boilermakers, and I thought this Purdue team was getting the curve turned. I thought they were turning the page. But they ended up February on a down note with a close loss to Michigan State at home at Mackey Arena. And then first day of March, they go into Ohio State and they lose that game. And the score, I don't think, is very indicative of how bad the Boilermakers actually played. Oh, it was ugly to watch. And here's the thing. The Boilermakers have had not one, not two, not three, but four home losses this season. For Purdue basketball, that's unacceptable. Purdue does not lose that many times in a season at Mackey Arena. Mackey Arena, it's a very vaunted home court advantage, but this year, the Boilermakers have not been able to take advantage of it. Like, the crowd's getting plenty loud. The Boilermakers are just not taking advantage of the home court this season. 4 losses. That's the most they've had in the season since the 2019 to 2020 season, where they had 5 losses at Mackey Arena. And they still got one more game at Mackey Arena this season, so they could tie that. They could have 5 losses. But, if you're great teams take advantage of home court advantage. And this Purdue Boilermaker team has not. And the big problem with Purdue so it looked like this February they were turning the curve, moving on. Okay, the Michigan loss, of course, it was tough, but that's a great Michigan team. Michigan State, they could have won that game, and they didn't get it done. Didn't make the plays in the end. Too many mistakes. And I will say this Purdue team, the biggest problem with this, so one of the problems with this Purdue team, they go on a run, they start games really well, and it's almost like they hit a wall. And suddenly, once they hit that wall, things become too tough for them, and they just can't stretch the margins or stretch the lead against really, really good teams. So, something to keep in mind, Purdue has had, actually, the 4 home games that they have lost, they were against top 15 opponents. Like, they had 4 games at home against top 15 opponents and didn't win any one of those games. They didn't win even one of those games. That's a tough pill to swallow. And in two of those games, they got their butts kicked in 2 of those games. The biggest problem for Purdue this season is its desire. Honestly, in my opinion, it is the desire and the will to do what it takes to win these tough games. You're gonna have moments when things get tough. And things have gotten tougher for this Purdue team, except when the going gets really, really tough, this Purdue team, they don't rise up. They don't rise to the occasion. Instead, it's almost like they just said, all right, on to the next. It's like they go on to the next game already. Things have gotten too tough. Call it. That's not acceptable. All right, I would never call out, and I don't like to call out players on social media, and I'm not going to name names right now. But I know deep down inside, this team and players and coaches bear equal responsibility. But this team is even if this team is not as good as Boilermaker Nation thinks it is, I myself included with that, even if the Boilermakers are not as good as we thought, I know this. They are still capable of playing at a really high level on any given night. And in those 4 home games that they lost, they did not rise up to that level that they were capable of playing at. Like the Illinois game, they played really well, but they needed to play harder in that game. And even on some of the road games they played this season, they've been more than capable. And just when the going gets rough, they don't rise to that level that they need to. Instead, I don't want to say they've given up, but when the going gets rough, this Purdue team it lacks that desire and that drive and that will to compete and try to win these tough games. That's what I've noticed this season with this team. I think they've allowed that preseason they allowed the preseason number 1 ranking to get in their heads, and that's define their season. But you know what? This team has a chance to turn the page on that, to just focus. Okay, they're not going to win the Big Ten title, but they got a chance to build some momentum for March and get back to playing their brand of basketball and focus on, not all the outside noise, but just on themselves. And that starts tonight at Northwestern. Purdue's got a road game at Northwestern, their final true road game of the season. Let's take care of business tonight and play up to that level that I know these Boilermakers are capable of playing at. Well, I need to see that tonight. Because this team, all right, the experience is there. They brought back a lot of their seniors. All right, and some of the seniors, I've even questioned like I said, I don't try to name names, but I've questioned the heart of some of these seniors. And that will and desire, of course. But you know what? They got a chance to prove me wrong tonight. To show me that you want it. Because going into Welsh Ryan Arena and Northwestern, it's never an easy game. So this Boilermakers team, I need to see that drive. I need to see that passion, that heart, that spark. I need to see all that. I need to see that competitive edge that that the Boilermakers I know are capable of playing as. And I know this team, I believe this team is capable of making a deep NCAA tournament run. They got all the pieces in place. It's all about, having the will and the desire, to play your best each and every game. And that's what I need to see from this Purdue team going forward. All right, forget the past. Past is past. We got to focus on building momentum for March. And, and playing our best basketball at the right time. That's what I want to see from this Purdue basketball team tonight. So the Boilermakers, play hard, play tough, play smart, and play with heart for the full 40 minutes tonight at Northwestern. All right. And speaking of March, well, we're in March. We're in the madness. We're here. It's March Madness time, or we're coming up on it. It's March, baby. This is March. And there's a particular team going into this March that I want to talk about, and that is the Miami Redhawks. How about this? Miami is 30-0. They've played 30 games. They've won all 30. This team's been impressive this year. And honestly, they could end up being 31-0. They've got one more game at Ohio. Not going to be an easy game for them, but if they can take care of business, they will end the regular season undefeated going into tournament play. And I will say this team, they deserve the praise that they're getting. Okay, your record says what you are. And Miami's 30-0. The record says they're 30-0. They've won 30 games. And they played they played good basketball all season long. This is a very good Miami team. Miami of Ohio team. Very, very good basketball team. And a basketball team that deserves to be in the madness. They deserve to be in the dance. I will say that. Now, to be honest with you, as good as they've been, I've had mixed feelings about this Miami. I've had some mixed feelings, all right? Yeah, got to give them respect for being 30-0, all right? But unfortunately to me, there is a bit of an asterisk next to their 30-0 record, okay? As impressive as they are being at 30-0, you look at their schedule and you look at who they've played. The bad news for Miami is they have not played a quad one game. Not one quad one game. And I'm going to be honest with you. Undefeated teams are impressive, but you know what? Call me biased, say what you will. I'm more impressed with a team that's lost 2 games that's gone 28-2 or 27-3. But each of those 2 or 3 games that they've lost were quad one games. I'm more impressed with a team that has like a pair or 3 quad one losses and 28 or 27 victories than I am with an undefeated team that has not played a quad one game. All right. Look, I know Miami, they're in the MAC. However, the MAC is a pretty weak basketball conference, all right? And they've had some close ones as of late. And you look at their schedule as a whole, from conference to non-conference, they played quad 2 games, plenty of those, but there's not a quad 1 game on their record. And so that, in a way, that can spell trouble for them if they get in trouble. All right, this Miami team is a very good team, all right? They deserve respect, and you know what? I will also stand by that. I've said this before. I believe that we don't need conference tournaments. We don't need those because those really don't do justice in deciding who should be in the NCAA tournament from each conference. Look, in my opinion, whoever wins the regular season championship, whoever wins the regular season championship in each conference, so just Horizon and you win your conference's regular season championship, you go to the tournament. You know what? That happens with everyone in the Power Four. But that's not the case, sadly, with these smaller conferences. As I mentioned, the MAC, Mountain West, and conferences like the Sun Belt and the Horizon League, the Patriot League, to name a few. Look. All right. That's the tough. Again, I'm going to say it. If you win your conference's regular season title, you should be in the dance, all right? Miami should be in the dance based on the fact that they have won the MAC, all right? They won the MAC regular season championship. They've locked that up as far as I know. No one's going to come close to touching them. But sadly, that's not the way things are. And this Miami team, based on, you look at their resume, they don't have a quad one game on their resume, which puts all the pressure on Miami to win the MAC tournament. They got to win it. If they lose the MAC tournament, there is a strong chance they could be out. Again, they deserve to be in based on winning the MAC regular season title, but no one asked for my opinion there. No one in the NCAA cares about my opinion, okay? But the thing is, they got to go on and win their tournament. Otherwise, they're in a real danger zone, or they might get lucky and be first four if they lose the MAC tournament or losing the MAC tournament, and it could depend on where in the MAC tournament they lose. Like if they're a one and done, that's going to be really bad. If they're a one and done in the MAC tournament, I think they're out then. But Miami as good as Miami's been this season, winning all their games, being 30-0 so far, and have a chance to go to 31-0 on Friday. Miami could be the first undefeated regular season conference champion to miss the NCAA tournament because A, they lost in their conference tournament, and B, because of their strength of schedule, because they didn't have a quad one game. That stuff. Look, I know they're from the MAC, and what they've done is impressive this season. It doesn't take away from that. And you play who you play. I get that. But now because of their schedule, because of the schedule that they played, not playing even just one quad one. If they had played one quad game and even lost that one quad one game, I'd actually be 100% impressed with this Miami team. And just the only problem I have with them, of course, is that the fact that they didn't play a quad one game. But, okay, they still deserve to be in the NCAA tournament in my mind because they won their conference. The regular season title means a lot more than a tournament title. But because they got to play a tournament, and they got to win their tournament title, all the pressure is going to be on them, and they got almost no room for error because of how these metrics here. And because of the easy schedule that they play, that the committee's going to take a deep look. And here's the thing: if they win at least one conference tournament game, I think they'll get in as a first four. But if they're one and done in their conference tournament, they're probably going to be out then. So we'll see. Look, they should be in based on winning their regular season championship. But unfortunately, that's just not how it works. Again, nobody cares about my opinion. Nobody from the NCAA cares about my opinion, okay? That's just how it is. I hope Miami gets in. I want to see them in the NCAA tournament because of the season that they've had, all right? Do I wish they would have played some quad one games? Yes, I do. I think it would have looked more impressive. But you know what? It is what it is. What it is. That's my only gripe against this Miami team. And you know what? That's why I kind of am not 100% impressed with this Miami team. But they're still good enough to be in the NCAA tournament, if you ask me, all right? But, oh boy, I think they should be in, and I hope to see them in. But the pressure is going to be red hot for these Miami Redhawks. Gotta take care of business. If they can, only one way to prove that you belong. Sadly, with the way that this NCAA tournament is set up, you gotta go all the way in the MAC tournament. You gotta win it. Only when you do that will you truly feel safe. Again, kudos to the Miami Redhawks on what they've achieved this season, and I hope to see them in March Madness. All right, on to this day in sports history, and on this day, the 4th of March, 1903, the Stanley Cup, Montreal Arena. Yeah, that's right, the Stanley Cup is more than just 100 years old. So Stanley Cup in Montreal Arena, Westmont, Quebec. Montreal Hockey Club beats the Winnipeg Victorious 4-1 for a 2-1 Challenge Series victory on this day, the 4th of March in 1903. Sports fans, before I sign off, I want to send my thoughts and prayers and my heartfelt, and I just want to say that my heart is with the family of Lou Holtz. For those of you who don't know, Lou Holtz passed away today at age 89. We all know him for being probably the most legendary coach of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish. My thoughts and prayers are with Lou Holtz and his family. Rest in peace, Lou Holtz. All right, sports fans, that's all I got for this week's Waxon Wednesday. I'll see you all for a Friday roundtable. And I hope you've enjoyed this week's Waxon Wednesday. This is Jake Waxman from Two Guys Talk Sports, wishing you all a good week.